The sun is beginning to set on the 2013 season for the New York Mets. Mets are back in New York after a very successful 5-1 road trip. The Mets finished off a winning season on the road, now trying to finish off the season at home with some wins as the year comes into focus. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Milwaukee Brewers. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling, Keith Hernandez with you tonight as the Mets open their final series of the year, a 4-game set against the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers were involved in some excitement in Atlanta last night involving their fine center fielder and the former Met, Carlos Gomez. Going back to June, Paul Mahala of the Braves had hit Gomez in the knee with a pitch. And last night, the hard feelings that ensued from that came to the fore. Second batter of the game, Gomez hit this home run off Mahala, and that's when the chatting began. Gomez and Mahala, Gomez and Freddie Freeman, and ultimately Gomez and Brian McCann, who met Gomez before he ever reached home plate. Gomez and Reed Johnson, who was involved in the fight for the Braves, have both been suspended for a game, so Gomez will not play against the Mets tonight. But this was one of those situations where a player took offense to something that had happened earlier, and an entire team took offense to that player's reaction.
Well, Carlos Gomez is the kind of player that aggravates the opposing team. He's got a little bit of mustard on him. He's a great player. He's had a great season. I know Lou Brock, you can hit Lou Brock when I played with Lou, but never throw at his legs. He got through at his knees. Okay, whether it was intentional or not, I don't know. But you want to handle it with class. You get even with a pitcher who hits you by doing what Carlos Gomez does, and then you run around the bases. I almost wish McCann had dropped him at home plate. That would have been real interesting, but they're held hostage because they're going into the playoffs. So it's a fight, and it's over with, and let's just move on.
And Gomez, to his credit, apologized last night, apologized again today. He'll sit out tonight.
Well, I think looking from the pitcher's standpoint, there's no way I would allow a hitter to yell at me all the way down to first base line. You would have went and got him. So Mahala not going after Gomez was a little puzzling. But I agree with Keith. You know, that's the second incident that McCann has stuck up for his team. Remember Jose Fernandez, the pitcher, when he styled on his home run, he confronted him also.
So tonight, the Mets turn their attention to the Brewers, and Dylan G will make his final start of the year. What a 4 months it's been for G after his rough start.
And you know what's great about it? He can tie his career high that he had in his rookie season when he won 13 wins. That would be a great milestone for G after the injury-plagued year last year.
And the Mets will get their second look at a prospect for the Brewers who has really struggled, 6'9", Johnny Helwig.
Well, Johnny Helwig has had a tremendous amount of problems with his control. They're trying to get him to the place where he can throw some strikes, but it's been a tough go so far.
Mets have won 9 of their last 13 games coming down the stretch of the season. 4 more to play, all against the Brewers. All the action tonight from Citi Field coming your way on SNY. Brought to you by your Tri-State Cadillac dealer. Visit CadillacTristate.com to search local offers and to find a dealer near you. By Pepsi, live for now. By Geico. By Grinds coffee pouches, get the product the players use and visit getgrinds.com today. And by Mazda, if it's not worth driving, it's not worth building. Swing for the fences with the new Home Run Derby mobile game from MLB.com. Available on iPhone and iPad and select Android devices. Download free today. What a gorgeous sunset we have developing in New York tonight. Dylan G getting set for his final start of the year. First pitch coming up from Citi Field. Weeks out for the year. Corey Hart never played. Carlos Gomez suspended tonight. This is what they're left with. Nori Aoki in the leadoff spot. A red-hot Scooter Jeanette hitting second. Jonathan Lucroy has had a really good year batting third. That's about it.
The other Chris Davis playing left field. Dylan G has 14 starts this year of 1 run allowed or less. But his last 7 games at Citi Field, he's not won a game. And his ERA is 2.23. So he's run into some hard luck here at Citi.
Okay. The last 4 games of the year, and this is the last 4 times you Met fans are going to see the Lexus Metropolitan defense. You're going to have to wait till next April. So enjoy. 14th start for Den Decker in center. I'm glad to see that. Lagares, of course. Girlfriend had a baby. So Baxter's in right, Den Decker's in center. That's the reason why Lagares is not in the lineup.
Baby was born this morning. Juan is expected to be with the team at some point this evening, but he was up all night, so he's not going to play tonight. So that's why Den Decker gets the start in center. Nori Aoki leads off for the Brewers. He's had a fine year, hitting at .289, .358 on base percentage, and he's red hot coming down the stretch. 13 for his last 25. The Brewers 71-87. Mired in 4th place in the National League Central. First pitch of the night from Dylan G. And Aoki bluffs a bunt. It clips away from Darno. And that is the first pitch of the game.
Stevie Buckner's like, what's going on here? Darno let it go. Aoki tried to bunt, and the ball hit Stevie Buckner in the hand. I mean,
this ball sailed, didn't it?
oh
Ronnie?
no, it hit his forearm. Yeah.
The ball sailed
off Darno's mitt, and
are they getting even because of that call the other night? Or?
well, that didn't involve the Mets and the Brewers. C.B. Buckner had a call in the Phillies-Marlins game last night where Cesar Jimenez was pitching for the Phillies. Christian Yelich bunted one up the first baseline. Jimenez picked it up with his glove, tagged Yelich with his bare hand, and Buckner called him out. Wow. It's one of those, where everybody in the ballpark saw it except for CB. Aoki drives one to center. Then Decker is right there, and that's the first out of the night. And having already introduced Mr. Buckner, there's the rest of the crew. Dale Scott is your crew chief. He's at first. Todd Tichenor at second. DJ Rayburn, the umpire, at third. Scooter Gennett hits number 2 in the order. Gennett's been playing all the second base since Ricky Weeks blew out his hamstring a couple of months ago. And this has been a blessing in disguise for the Brewers because Gennett has been terrific, hitting at .328. 23-year-old out of high school in Florida. And he runs his hand up the bat handle and takes outside for ball 1. This is the first time Dylan G has faced the Brewers this year, and only the third time in his career he's yet to beat Milwaukee. 0-2 with a 7.15 ERA against the Brewers. And Gennett fouls it off 1-1. Dylan, since the 30th of May, which was the turnaround point in his season, that 12 strikeout game at Yankee Stadium, has a 2.57 ERA. 4 months of just brilliant pitching, and this is his last start of the season. Jonathan Lucroy hitting third in the order. He waits on deck. G ahead on Gennett, 1-2. And he fouls away the slider.
Well, that's a baseball name, isn't it? Chipper Jones, Scooter Gennett.
Ryan Joseph Gennett. He was 4 years old. He was playing with the seatbelt in his mother's car, clicking it on, clicking it off. His mother told him to stop. He wouldn't do it. She said, "I'm going to have you arrested." Took him to the police station, charging his Murphy, and a close play, and Gennett is out for the second out. Little Ryan Joseph Gennett decided that he didn't want to get arrested, so the cop at the police station asked him his name, and he said Scooter, which was one of the Muppet Babies.
Oh, jeez.
And from that point on, he was Scooter.
Funny.
By the way, he didn't get arrested.
You didn't?
No.
Tough love.
Mom.
Taught him a lesson, got him a nickname for life.
That's right.
2 out and nobody on. Here's Jonathan Lucroy, has driven in more runs as a catcher than any receiver in the major leagues. 18 home runs, 82 RBIs, a .280 batting average for Lucroy, one of the emerging stars in the National League. Dylan G's gone 16 straight starts with at least 6 innings pitched. A little fister to shortstop. One hopper to Quintanilla. He throws out Lucroy. And an easy first inning for Dylan G as the Brewers go down 1-2-3. Mets come to bat in the bottom of the first with no score. Lineup for the Mets tonight. Eric Young, 2 stolen bases behind the Brewers' Gene Segura, who's out with a hamstring injury for the National League lead. David Wright, after sitting out yesterday, back in the lineup today as the Mets take on the tall right-hander Johnny Hellwig.
Well, what you're going to see from Hellwig is a lot of sinkers. You see the number you don't ever see. More walks than strikeouts,
Wow.
22-6. That just is something we never, ever get to show.
Well, we always try to be innovative and bring you new things.
Eric Young leads things off. Young 7 for 18 over the last 4 games, raising his average to 251. It'll be Young, Murphy, and Wright for the Mets against Hellwig in the first. And there's a strike 1-1. Hellwig, you mentioned the walk strikeout ratio as you look at the defense for the Brewers.
We're getting to see that a lot now, and really, Young just stopped bunting. But still, he can run, and he's still a threat to bunt, and you got to respect that.
Daniel Murphy waiting on deck. And Young grounds one through the hole, a base hit. Eric Young with a leadoff single after driving in the only run of yesterday's 1-0 Mets win.
Could throw a dive in, couldn't you hear?
Well, Francisco's not a fielder.
Just a little dive.
But also, too, but he's, oh my goodness, that is it's like a matador. Where's the cape?
Well, we saw him in Milwaukee. He had never played a game at first base before this year. Brewers, who have had a problem filling first base with Corey Hart out all year, moved him over there, and he is still learning.
Oh, I don't care about learning. How about the effort? 3 unassisted. That's what that play should have been.
Well, if he'd been playing back, he might have had a chance.
Well, here's a chance for Young to close in a little closer in the stolen base race. When Young first came to the Mets, he made his debut June the 19th. He had only 8 steals for the year. He was 12 behind Gene Segura and 23 behind the then league leader Everett Cabrera. And now he's just 2 off the lead. And a chance to win the stolen base title because Segura may not play this weekend. Murphy's hit in 7 straight games, up to 285 for the year. Now tied for second in the league in hits with 183. And there goes Young. The throw by Luke Croy, a good one, and he's safe. Young beat it out. Stolen base number 43, now just 1 off the league lead.
Good throw by Luke Croy. I thought he might have had him. Boom, boom. This is a perfect throw. Well, a little high. Oh, boy. He just got in. Good call.
Luke Croy's like, really?
So Young at second with nobody out. 1-1 to Murphy with David Wright on deck. And he grounds one to the right side. That'll advance Young to third. Jeanette makes the play for the first out. So a single, a stolen base, and advancing ground down. The Mets have a runner at third and 1 out.
Now here's the steal again. Yep, he got in there. Very alert.
So an RBI chance for David Wright. Unlike Dusty Baker in yesterday's game, scoreless game early. Ron Renneke will play his infield back. For David Wright, his first game at Citi Field since August the 2nd when he strained his hamstring. Played 4 games on the road trip, went 6 for 14 with 2 home runs in his return to action.
And we finally get to the Coors Light Brewer, the Brouhaha defense. Brew Crew, whatever you want. Harvey's Wallbangers, 110 errors. They've always been a kind of an American League type team. Just like the slug. Don't play a lot of defense.
David, in his last game at Citi Field back on August 2nd, hit a home run. He's hit 40 home runs at Citi Field in the 5 years this park's been open. In that time, he's hit 52 home runs on the road. Line the other way, and Francisco's got it. Playing off the line, able to snag that line drive for the second out, and Young has to hold.
Well, big hang with him right there. Fastball away. David goes right with it. Not much you can do once that ball leaves the bat. And Young, of course, the play's in front. Nicely read, like an old pro that he is.
So 2 out. Young still at third, and it's left to Lucas Duda, who's in a 1-for-25 skid right now. His average down to 225. We talked about David's home run splits over the course of the 5 years Citi Field's been open. And there's been a lot of conversation about why it is that the Mets have been so much of a better road team than home team. Not just this year, but now 3 years in a row they've had a better road record than home record. And I don't know whether the question is why they play so well on the road, or whether the question is why they play so relatively poorly at home.
I don't think they're built for this park. Okay, they haven't got a lot of speed. Before Young, my goodness, they didn't have any defense, particularly in the outfield. They don't have any power. So if you don't have speed in a big ballpark like this and you haven't got power, it's going to be tough. I don't care who you run out there in your starting 5.
But why then have they had a winning record on the road this year? I mean, a team without a lot of speed, a lot of power, shouldn't win a lot of games anyway. The ball for to Duda, and the Mets have runners in the corner. I mean, does it make sense to you?
A lot of teams, I think they're more relaxed on the road. I mean, I don't know. I'm not in their heads down there, but I do feel that they, throughout the years, that they've been, after we got through that bunch that through 06, 7, 8, and 9, that they seem to be a little more tense. And I've always said, Gary, I love to play on the road. I felt less pressure on the road than I did at home to deliver a big hit late.
Mike Baxter takes a strike, but you also played on teams that dominated at home.
And I played well at home, but I'm just saying I loved playing on the road. I always felt a little late in the game in New York, just a little bit of more need to come through than I did on the road, where I really enjoyed it and savored it. You know, and you always savor it when you come through at home too, because you're in front of the home fans. But it was a little more tense. That's just me.
To me, one of the most stunning things about the home road split is that the Mets suffered 11 walk-off losses this year, which is, I think, the second most in the major leagues. The most the Mets have had since 1989. And yet, they still had a winning record on the road for a team that overall is 12 games under 500. Baxter fouls it away 2-2. And it's not a one-year aberration. This has happened 3 years in a row now that the Mets have had a better record away from Citi Field. Higher batting average, much higher with runners in scoring position, more home runs.
Almost a point more runs, which is, you know,
The difference.
Yep. Well, those are the offensive numbers. How about the pitching numbers? Elwig misses, and a full count to Baxter.
This last road trip, the starters were 5-0 with an ERA under 3. So they, you know.
I mean, and that was pitching in hitters' ballparks
Yes.
in Philadelphia and Cincinnati. So how do you explain that? I just think the whole thing is very confusing.
I'm opposite of Keith. I really enjoyed pitching at the Big Shea. I could manage my routine at home starts. You know, you knew when to, take the car or get on the train. You knew exactly what time you were going to eat and what you were going to eat. The clubhouse felt comfortable. I loved the mound at Shea. It was home. It's like working at your home office. And on the road, you couldn't control those things as much.
Was there one mound you didn't like at all? The worst? The least, I should say?
Baxter takes strike 3 call. 96 miles an hour from Hellwig gets him. Ronnie will answer that question when we come back. No score after 1. Well, coming to New York to watch his Brewers is a homecoming for Brewers owner Mark Atanasio, who's from Brooklyn. It's been a rather trying year for him as the Brewers have had to deal most notably with the Ryan Braun situation. Chris Davis takes up and in for ball one. Davis inserted into the lineup when Carlos Gomez was suspended for one game for tonight.
You know, it's been a trying year, but it was interesting the comments that Mr. Atanasio had about Braun. He did not give him a pass. You know, he was. I thought that was interesting. You had a lot of owners who would have maybe not said as harsh of things as he did. So
I wonder what is going on with the Prince Fielder thinks about all this. I mean, there was the two of them. They were going to sign one of them to a long-term contract. Ownership decides on Braun, lets Fielder walk, and Fielder by walking has been now in the postseason.
The World Series last year, and he may be there again this year.
And he got a nice contract, and I got to believe he's maybe chuckling under his breath.
Well, Ryan Braun sat out a month with an injury with a thumb this year, and then hit with the accepted suspension, 61 games for the remainder of the season for his activity in the biogenesis scandal. And you know, the thing that separates Braun from a lot of the guys who were suspended was the vehemence with which he denied his culpability, particularly after he got off on a technicality 2 winters ago, as Chris Davis draws a leadoff walk.
I also think, too, Gary, is what he did to that young man and handled the samples, the blood sample.
Right.
I mean, he did. That was not nice.
it's criminal almost.
It's a lawsuit.
Caleb Gindel playing right field tonight. Originally supposed to be in left field, but they shifted their outfield when Gomez was scratched. Gindel hitting at .244 in now his 34th start for the Brewers. And G, after walking the leadoff hitter, throws ball one to Gindel. Well, it's going to be a very interesting scenario next year when Braun comes back to the Brewers, because you have an entire community that has felt incredibly betrayed by what went down with Braun. And you know, this is a player who's signed for what, 8 more years.
Yeah.
I mean, they are, for lack of a better term, stuck with him. He is going to be a part of the Brewers for a long time to come. And to his credit, once he got caught, he went into full apology mode, and he's been calling fans and calling media members and apologizing one-to-one to a lot of people, trying to make amends and start the healing process. But it's going to be a heavy lift, you'd have to think.
Well, it's going to take some time, and there's going to be some that won't forgive him.
Little looper to shallow center, and that's going to fall for a base hit. Davis pulls in at second, so Gindel with a pop fly single, and the Brewers have the first 2 men out of the second.
Well, off the end of the bat, it's a broken bat, and if you're the hitter, you're happy. If you're the pitcher, now you got to work out of a first and second jam with nobody out.
So here's Yuniesky Betancourt playing third base today. Betancourt's played a lot of first base for the Brewers this year. Mentioned that the Brewers have basically been without a first baseman all season, so they've had to mix and match at that spot. Betancourt, the former Kansas City Royal, hitting at .213. And tries to bunt and fouls it off.
At this point in the season, playing it out, your sacrifice bunting?
Except maybe he's doing it on his own.
I would hope so. You got to be kidding me. Second inning?
These games sometimes are hard. You almost have to use a different microscope when you're watching these games. 4 games where teams are playing it out.
Well, whether it's coming from Ron Renicky or coming from Yuniesky Betancourt.
I think Keith was right with the first thought that this has been put on, because he is squaring around like he wants to sacrifice, not bunt for that base hit, well, they give him the sacrifice.
Hey, at this stage of the game, the third base coach would give him, after the first bunt, would just say, if it was a missed sign, hey, swing the bat. Let's go.
Well, you'd have to think he'll be swinging here on 0-2. G looking for the double play grounder. And just missed the outside corner, 1-2.
One thing we've seen from Darnell that we did not see with Buck or Recker is that he's a little more nimble, and you'll see him really darting off the corners and setting up off the plate.
And the curveball nubbed foul. Davis at second and Gindel at first with nobody out. Scoreless game in the second. If Dylan G can go 7 innings today, and the way he's been going, no reason to think he can, he would get to the 200 inning plateau. What were the odds of that happening in the middle of May when he was struggling so badly?
I mean, there was a time there where you thought, there was talk of Wheeler coming up, that G was really, and Hefner were pitching for their jobs. And, to get, that's a magical level, that 200 inning mark, especially now. And to do that on this team would be something. Something you could be real proud of.
G ahead 1-2 on Betancourt. And he popped it up. Infield fly rule will be called. Batter is out. And Duda uses 2 hands. 1 away. So 1 out in the inning. Now the power hitting Juan Francisco has started out the year with the Braves. He was in a third base platoon, remember, with Chris Johnson at third base for Atlanta when the year began, but Johnson won the job outright. Francisco was traded for a minor leaguer, and he's been trying to learn how to play first base ever since with Milwaukee. Big all-or-nothing slugger, 18 home runs, 136 strikeouts in just 342 at-bats. You do the math.
Yeah. He's an all-or-nothing guy. Dead pull hitter with trying to lift everything.
The Brewers lineup is almost completely bereft of their starters when you think about it. Corey Hart was supposed to be their first baseman. He hasn't played a game this year. Ricky Weeks, their second baseman, blew out his hamstring, out for the year. Gene Segura, their shortstop, on the bench right now with a hamstring injury. Aramis Ramirez, their third baseman, tweaked his knee in the scuffle last night with the Braves. He may not play again this year. Ryan Braun, their left fielder, suspended. Carlos Gomez, their center fielder, tonight suspended. That leaves 2 position players in the lineup. That's Aoki, who's playing center field for the first time this year because Gomez is out, and their catcher Lucroy.
And wasn't Matt Gemmell going to play a lot of first base?
He got hurt also, right? So it's been that kind of year for the Brewers, and it just keeps getting worse. And Francisco takes the changeup outside, 2-2. I mean, the Mets can certainly commiserate with that kind of misfortune. Some of it self-imposed. Two and two to Francisco with 2 men on. And a ground ball toward the middle. Murphy can't make the play. Coming around third is Davis. He will score the first run of the game. Now, Murphy was thinking about picking it up on the backhand and flipping it with the glove to try and get a double play, but instead it trickled off his glove and a run is in.
Did he try to rush it before he had the ball? I looked like he kind of looked up. Let's see a little closer shot. Nope, he just didn't get there.
So we'll wait to see how they score that. Probably a base hit for Francisco.
It should be a base hit.
And that is how they score it. Howie Carpin makes the call. Now he usually gets them right. 48 RBIs for Francisco, a 1-0 lead for the Brewers. Now Jeff Bianchi, the shortstop, filling in for Segura. And he takes ball 1. Bianchi making his 52nd start of the season, hitting at .238 with a home run and 24 driven in. He issued a leadoff walk to Davis. Davis has come around to score. Something that has not been a big problem for Dillon over the last few months. He's been walking almost nobody. Didn't walk a single batter in his last start in Philadelphia. And he falls behind Bianchi, the number 8 hitter, 3-0.
It happens sometimes, guys, when a play's not made that you think maybe could have turned into 2 and you could have got out of the inning. You get frustrated, angry, start overthrowing a little bit, and you lose your control.
Swinging 3-0, and Bianchi fouls it off. How often does the number 8 hitter get a 3-0 hit sign?
That's complete opposite of the sacrifice bunt earlier in the inning.
Yeah, so the 5th hitter is bunting, the 8th hitter is swinging 3-0.
That's right. The world's turned upside down.
Well, it's the last series of the year. Both teams going nowhere. Anything's possible.
I'm very relaxed. I'm going to take it as it comes.
Certainly seem that way.
You're the king.
You are certainly swinging 3-0 tonight. And there's a strike, 3-2. Three and two now to Bianchi with the pitcher on deck. And one of the runners goes, the other doesn't, and it's flied out to center. And this is going to be a double play if he can catch it, but Dendecker cannot. He merely traps it, and Gindel is able to come home with the second run of the inning. Well, the runner from first, Francisco, broke. Gindel, the runner at second, broke later, and then Dendecker almost caught this ball, but it falls in for a hit for Bianchi, and it's 2-0 Milwaukee. Francisco didn't know what to do.
2 bloopers here. Well, let's take a look at the runners. It's more interesting to watch the runners here. He's gone. They both went. Just the back runner, Francisco, left way early.
But the problem is Gindel didn't have a read. He thought there were 2 outs.
Oh, well.
How do you even talk about it? I mean, unbelievable.
Well, it's the third hit of the inning. 2 bloops and a dribbler.
Well.
And now the pitcher, Hellwig, will come to bat. Hellwig looking for his first big league hit or sacrifice.
Well, since it's this inning, he's swinging away.
Why not?
Well.
And he drops down a gorgeous bunt.
I'll say.
And G makes the play of Murphy for the sacrifice, 1-4.
You know, Hellwig is an interesting kid. He was a great soccer player in high school, All-State. He was 6'4". He grew 5 inches after high school, from 6'4" to 6'9". And I was talking to Brian Anderson, who was the play-by-play man for the Milwaukee Brewers, and he said, it almost looks like he hasn't grown into his body yet.
So now Nori Aoki has his second at bat with runners at second and third. G trying to put the clamps on what could be a huge inning for the Brewers. Aoki has the hardest hit ball against G tonight, lined out to center field to lead off the game. And that one gets behind d'Arnaud, but not far enough for the runner at third, Francisco, to make a break.
Now that's a cross up there. So we've had a potpourri of mistakes here in this inning.
Oh, that is a cross up, and it got him on the inner thigh, and that is not good.
Ronnie, let me ask you, you get in these late season games, crowd is small, game doesn't have any meaning beyond your personal aspirations.
Can you lose your concentration
I
sometimes?
don't know if you lose your concentration, but I'm talking about the pitcher. The pitcher's got to be on point. But I think that if you relax just a little bit, Gary, and you're not concentrating like you would in any other game, bad things can happen, just like that's happening in this inning.
I think more than anything, Gary, this late in these kind of games, you can get lazy, get on your heels. And I'm not talking about the pitcher. Pitcher's out there trying to get a win, and he's got to be on point, as Ronnie said. But in the field, maybe you fall asleep a little bit. You try not to, because your pitcher's out there trying to make a living, you know?
Well, as we've said all through this latter portion of the season, that might be true for a guy who's been playing every day all year. There are very few guys on the field for the Mets who fit that description.
Yeah, I think the one thing for the pitcher is that sometimes you can look at the Milwaukee Brewers lineup and say to yourself, boy, usually when you look at lineups, you go, who's not going to beat me today? You look at this lineup, you don't know who any of the players are.
What was the call on that pitch? Was that ball 4 or was it strike 1? That should be ball 4 if it wasn't a swing. I don't think C.B. Buckner knows the count. It was 3-0 going into that pitch to Aoki, and if he checked his swing, it should have been ball 4.
Here comes Ron Renicky.
Called the first one a strike, he said.
He didn't tell anybody on the field.
We're going to have to go back to the videotape.
It's always something, isn't it?
That's my Warner Wolf invitation.
That's
Let's
right.
go to the videotape.
That needs some work.
Sounded more like Howard Cosell. Here's the 3-1. That's high, and now it's ball 4 to Aoki. So that's the second walk of the inning for G. It's just been a slog here in the second. Not one hard hit ball against him. Yet 2 runs are in, and the bases are loaded for Scooter Gennett. Gennett grounded out to second base, his first at bat. Here's the first pitch that CB claims that he called a strike. Let's see.
Oh,
it's
the
cross up.
up.
Yeah,
He called it a strike.
did. Good for him. He was right.
On. There you go.
He was right. And Gennett flares one to the left for a base hit. Francisco scores. Bianchi heading home. The throw by Young not nearly in time. Throw goes down to second. Gennett is tagged out for the third out of the inning. But Gennett's hit drives in 2, and the Brewers put up a 4 spot against Dylan G in the second inning. 4-0 Milwaukee. 4-0 lead.
Well, he runs. Watch the first base coach, Garth Orr, trying to hold him up. Well, I guess.
Really?
But I thought so. Look at him. What was the reaction? That's what. Oh, well. Don't pay attention to me. I could have sworn we saw it in between innings. That's he was trying to hold him up.
Matt Den Decker leads off in the second against Johnny Hellweg. That's got a couple of men on against Hellweg in the first, but could not score. Den Decker did not start the last 4 games, and I know it's been something of a puzzlement to us as to why he has not been in the lineup. As Lucroy and Hellweg require a conversation.
This young man is a typical young pitcher whose front shoulder flies out. So when it flies out towards first base, he has nothing left, and that ball's just going to run up and away to the left-hander.
Well, we mentioned Hellweg's walk to strikeout ratio, and he walked 1 and struck out 1 in the first inning. So he now has 23 walks to 7 strikeouts. The Elias people tell us in the last 60 years, there's only one major league pitcher who's ever had a worse walk strikeout ratio. Only one. Popped it up into shallow center, and on comes Aoki, playing his first game in center field this season, and he makes the grab one away.
It's a pretty simple motion. He was going over his head, but now they want him to just gather right at his belt buckle. And for a 6'9" guy, pretty simple. Opens up, and see that front shoulder? It's flying open just a little too early.
He's not a drop and drive, that's for sure.
So 1 out, now Travis d'Arnaud.
It's almost like a BP pitcher motion, you know?
Yep.
Travis swung the bat much better on the just completed road trip. 4 for 12, up to 185 on the year. Skies this one behind the plate. And Lucroy right to the screen and just.
Oh, that kid almost got it.
The screen.
That bounced right in between Dad and the kid, did it not? I think he got hit in the arm. He did. Look at this.
He's toughing it out, though.
Don't watch the catcher. Watch the kid.
Well, first of all, the kid is grabbing the screen.
Got him.
The kid was grabbing the screen, which tell your kids never, ever grab the screen.
Right. Well, you can on a pop-up.
Still.
You don't want to, when the ball's pitched, you definitely don't want to put your hands in the screen. Oh, you can lose. I saw someone happen when I was a kid at a softball game, fast pitch softball game. I was like around 6 years old. Someone was behind the softball field in the chain link fence behind the, and he got nailed on a foul ball.
Pulled toward the hole, a base hit for d'Arnaud. So Travis has the Mets' second hit of the day. One out and one on for Quintanilla after Wilfredo Tovar started the last 2 games at shortstop for the Mets.
Well, as a hitter off Hellweg, my goodness, boy, you're going to get 90% sinker. Left-hand hitter. I'd have a serious plan of attack.
$173 million. Is that worth a pop?
Yeah, it's worth a pop.
Telling you, private jet to every road game.
You're providing it?
Yeah, for the
what about
the whole crew?
Carbon imprint. Oh, come on.
I didn't think about that.
Well, but you better start thinking
What
about
would be
that.
the better option? Should we buy an electric bus for the group?
Well, you can always.
This is a guy who drives 180 miles every day.
24-year-old Johnny Hellweg, originally drafted by the Angels in 2008. Jeanette gets the out at second. The return by Bianchi is in time for the double play. Side retired. 4-6-3 on the double play, and the Mets are done in the bottom of the second. 4-0 Milwaukee. Brooklyn Burger, the premium steakhouse burger and the official burger of the New York Mets. Visit Keith's Grill at Citi Field, located on the field level behind section 132, to enjoy Keith's favorite Brooklyn burgers. Now, there's not much traffic at Keith's Grill right now, but that young lady behind the grill keeps a very clean shop.
She's always smiling. She's wonderful. And, folks, it was just a few minutes ago, a couple innings ago, it was packed.
Where exactly is Keith's Grill located here at the ballpark?
Left field line.
Okay.
Right under the
section 132, just
under the
foul
Geico
pole
sign.
Yeah. Jonathan Lucroy leads off in the third inning after the Brewers put up a 4 spot against Dylan G in the second. Lucroy grounded out to short his first time up. 3, 4, and 5 in the Milwaukee batting order. And if I say 3, 4, 5 in the Milwaukee batting order and you know who they are, you're a big fan.
That's right.
Jonathan Lucroy, Chris Davis, not him, the other one, and Caleb Gindel.
You know, Jonathan Lucroy, I remember did a game, his first game in the major leagues. And, you know, he had such a difficult time catching. You were thinking to yourself, boy, is he ever, you know, is he going to be able to make it? But he has come all the way where his defensive skills are very good and he's become real offensive threat.
I remember that game. He was catching Randy Wolf, and they couldn't communicate at all.
It was almost like Wolf was showing him up, you know. Randy had 4 or 5 different pitches and Lucroy couldn't get it to him quick enough.
Drives one deep to left. Back goes Eric Young, and it's over his head and short hop in the wall. And Lucroy pulls into second base with a leadoff double. His 25th double of the year. And things continue to degenerate for Dylan G today.
Hanging curve.
Yep. Lucroy really having a fantastic year. Do you know how I wrote Lucroy's name into my scorecard? I wrote Jonathan Swift. What was I thinking? What was I thinking?
That's funny.
That's really funny.
I put all the folks. Every time a new team comes in, first game of a series, I always write their first names the first day of the game, so I have their so I get familiar with it. So I don't know why I wrote Jonathan Swift. Lucky it's in pencil.
I could see if Glenn Gulliver was playing for the Brewers that you might write Jonathan Swift.
Where was my mind?
He was off with the Lilliputians.
What was the name of the bad guys?
Right center, slicing away from Dendecker, but he gets over to grab it. Lucroy tagging at second, and he'll make it to third. So Davis with the fly ball out advances Lucroy one away.
That was a great read by Lucroy at second base. He doesn't have tons of speed, but he read it right, recognized it right, and was able to advance on the fly ball. That's good baseball by Lucroy.
Jonathan Lucroy and David Wright, WBC teammates for the USA this spring.
Well, the center field is going towards right field. Tough throw for Dendecker, and he took advantage of it.
Well, once you read that, it's going to be caught. There's no way anybody's going to throw you out.
Infield in, Caleb Gindel the batter. Blooped a single and scored a run. And takes a curveball for a strike.
Caleb Gindel, it's like an Amish name. If you want some churned butter, go down the road and see the Caleb Gindel family.
Grew up in Florida, which is not really close to Amish country.
No. Well, it's interesting. They are just laying off Dylan G's changeup. Not one person in that lineup has offered at it yet.
So could he be giving it away somehow?
Maybe, no. Maybe they've detected something.
Lucroy at third with one out. The infield in. 2-1 to Gindel. And he hits it right back to G, and Lucroy has to hold. That's the second out.
That'll make you angry if you're a hitter. And it's also a big out for a pitcher.
So now Betancourt, who couldn't get a bunt down his first time up and wound up popping up with 2 men on. Well, there are some races remaining in Major League Baseball. The National League Central has yet to be decided. All the teams in that fray are off today. The Cardinals have a magic number of 1 for clinching the NL Central. Betancourt lifts one to left center. And that one will come down to Eric Young for the final out of the inning. A leadoff double for Lucroy. He's stranded to the bottom of the third, 4-0 Milwaukee. Is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Nice montage there of plays almost made. Dylan G will lead off for the Mets as we go to the bottom of the third. G with 8 hits this year. It'll be G, then Eric Young and Daniel Murphy for the Mets in the home third against Johnny Hellweg. Hellweg lasted 3 2/3 against the Mets the first time he faced them. Didn't get helped by his defense in that game, but he walked 5 batters in 3 2/3 and wound up giving up 7 runs before his exit. A 12-5 Met win in Milwaukee, where the Mets won 2 out of 3 in that series. Eric Young waits on deck. Jeanette plays the ground ball and throws out G one away. Talking about the races that are ongoing in Major League Baseball. The biggest one is the American League wild card race, where there are 3 teams left competing for 2 spots, and it may come down to the final day. It may even come down to a 3-way tie.
That's right.
Tampa Bay with a 1-game lead on Cleveland, and Cleveland with a 1-game lead on Texas. Tampa Bay finishing up their series in the Bronx, no score in the 4th. Cleveland plays in Minnesota tonight. They have yet to start. And Texas is home against the Angels, and they have yet to start. Matt Garza, who finally pitched a good game for Texas in his last start, goes tonight. Young, thinking about a bunt, takes ball 1. For the Indians, Michael Bourne is missing his 2nd straight game tonight, injured.
And you saw the corner infielders again in for the potential bunt.
Daniel Murphy, the on-deck batter. Young single through the hole into right his first time up. And Francisco, who had the ball sail by him, has got a little farther off the line this time against Eric. Closing down that hole on the right side.
Elweg looks like a younger version of John Garland. You know, John Garland who pitched for the Rockies this season. Sinker slider kind of guy.
Maybe throws a little harder than Garland.
Yeah, well, Garland when he first came up.
Elweg listed at 6'9", 205. And he misses high with that breaking ball. Elweg has walked one, struck out one. 3-2 to Young, and he walked him. Second walk issued by the Brewer right-hander, and Young's on for the second time, and another chance to swipe a bag. Now, here's where team play goes up against individual accomplishment. You're down 4-0. Normally you might be reticent to run. Young has one stolen base off the league lead now. Do you put the clamps on him or do you let him go?
I don't think you can steal here. Murph has been one of your best hitters all season long. Let Murph hit a double. You know, Murphy's a doubles machine. Let him hit a double, you'll score. I know what you're saying, though, Gary. I think you still, got to play the game right.
Look at that defense. There's no way. If Murph hits a ground ball to shortstop.
There goes Young. And the bad throw goes into center field, and Young will go to third. Eric Young has his 44th stolen base, and he's now tied for the National League lead. Takes third on Luke Roy's error.
Well, it's moot now. That defense on the infield, Murph takes. That was a strike.
By the way, with a good throw, Young's out at second base, too. Did not get a great jump. But it worked out.
Well, the only Met who's ever led the National League in steals was Jose Reyes, who did it 3 times, 2005, 2006, 2007. And now Eric Young, who has spent the majority of the season as a Met, is tied for the league lead. He's at third with 1 out. The infield will stay back, of course, with a 4-run lead. And now Hellweg behind on Murphy, 3-0. Well, it's the thing about a pitcher like Hellweg, who has trouble with his control. You always have a chance to build a rally and get yourself back in the game. And Murphy swinging 3-0. How about that?
Well, why not?
Well, I guess if you're going to steal down by 4 runs, you'll swing 3-0 down by 4 runs. That'll get the run in. The Yankee throws out Murphy as Young comes in, and it's now 4-1 Milwaukee. Murphy drives in his 77th run of the year.
It'd be nice if Murph can get 80. That's for a number 2 hitter predominantly all year. That's a lot of production. Plus his 90 runs.
So 2 out and nobody on for Wright. We have it lined out to the first baseman his first time up. Tampa Bay has gone in front of the Yankees 1-0 in the 4th. The Rays finishing strong. They've won 6 in a row.
Last home game for Mariano Rivera. Andy Pettit's not pitching. Last home game for him, and sold out.
Did you see what Joe Girardi said tonight? He said in the last series the Yankees play in Houston, he might play Mariano in center field. Something he's always wanted to do.
Then let him do it. Absolutely.
He's going to run up Tal's Hill.
Why not?
Why
I mean,
not?
you know, he obviously likes to shag. That's how he got hurt last year. But, you know, his career's ending this weekend anyway. Oh, David's hit in the helmet.
Oh, my word. Not again.
Wow.
Jeez.
It was 4 years ago that David Wright got hit in the helmet by Matt Cain here at Citi Field. And Ray Ramirez just wants him to take a moment.
Oh, Manischewitz.
Well, fortunately, David appears to be okay. Those moments scare you. He's going to come out of the game.
7 hit batters now for Hellwig in minimal innings.
Well, you see David's reaction. He had just come back this past week after 7 weeks on the sidelines with a hamstring injury. And there's no way you're going to take a chance here and leave him in. Looking at his thumb, I don't know if he hurt that going down after it hit him.
Yeah, the glancing blow. It's hit him good, but at least it was slightly glancing. Oh my gosh.
Right above the ear hole.
Yeah, that ball just chases you. Did everything he could to try to get out of the way and still got him.
See Lucroy immediately going over to see if he could be of assistance.
Well,
so Justin Turner will run for Wright. Wow. And Duda has it thrown behind him, and that hit him. So Hellwig hits back-to-back batters, and unfortunately Johnny Hellwig is just not able to command his pitches. You know, Keith, you get a guy who just doesn't know where the ball is going. It's got to have an impact on you as a hitter.
And it's always in September, too. And someone you don't know, and although Hellwig's been here, but really with today's game, they've only faced Hellwig once. So you really don't have a feel for him. He's obviously shook up this kid for hitting David. You saw the expression on his face. It's never any fun. And you know what? You just got to get in a more crouched position so you can pull that ejector button. I mean, you can't back down. I mean, he hit Duda with a slider. So.
Well, Hellwig's now hit 8 batters in his last 5 starts. Here's Baxter with 2 on. When you say a more crouched position, how does that help you?
When you're more crouched, you're more in a position to bail, Gary, if you have to at the last minute. You're more set. And I think, and I feel strongly about this, what they've done to this game where the hitters, they don't throw inside, the hitters are protected, I think it's made them more vulnerable to injury, to getting hit, because they don't know how to get out of the way of the ball. They get up there and they're relaxed because they're never going to come inside like they used to. So they don't know anything. So all of a sudden you get a guy like this where a ball gets away and you're not used to seeing it over a course of a season, over a course of years, and you're late pulling the ripcord.
This kid is clearly spooked. He's now behind on Baxter 3-0. They're going to get somebody up in the bullpen as Baxter draws the walk and the bases are loaded. Third walk given up by Hellwig to go with the 2-hit batsman. Alfredo Figueroa is up in the bullpen.
I was when we were in Philadelphia, I was talking to Gary Matthews, and right above his desk was a picture of his stance as a hitter. And I said, Sarge, I didn't realize that you were that crouched. He said, that crouched? You had to be that crouched in those days. Guys threw at your head. You had to be ready to get out of the way.
I played with Sarge. Okay, you know, Sarge is a little prone to exaggeration.
I'm just saying what he told me.
I never felt that anybody threw at my head. I really never felt that in my whole career. No, I felt that people threw at me and wanted to hit me on purpose if I was red hot or whatever, or I was the retaliation hitter. But I never felt that it was ever a headhunter in my 17 years, and I mean that.
But people would throw up and in to move you back.
Of course, but that's all fair. That's fair. Up and not behind your head and in. You know, under your chin, it's fine. You can get out of the way.
What's he feeling right now, Ronnie?
Well, you know, he's lost, and he's a young pitcher, and he feels embarrassed that he just hit someone in the head and then hit the next batter. So he's still like in a shock
Finds a corner to Dendecker, and it's 1-2.
I think he's lucky, though, that there's a left-handed hitter up here, so the ball, if it does run, it's going to run away from the hitter, not into him. So I think he feels a little less like he's going to drill Dendecker here. But still, he's in like shock. Now, that being said, you know, all's well and fine that he didn't mean to hit anybody. But this is Major League Baseball. And you can't have a pitcher out there who doesn't have the ability to throw strikes hitting people without sending a message yourself. He's not going to take it because he's wild. If he's that wild, he shouldn't be out there.
Agreed.
1-2 to Dendecker, and he struck him out to end the inning. So after 2 walks and 2 hit batsmen, Mets get a run. They lose David Wright and trail 4-1. Justin Turner, who pinch ran for David Wright after David was hit in the helmet, stays in to play third base. Dylan G trailing 4-1 in this game as we go to the 4th. Lower third of the batting order coming up for Milwaukee. Juan Francisco, who dribbled one up the middle for a base hit to drive in the first Milwaukee run in their 4-run second inning. It'll be Francisco, then Jeff Bianchi, and then the pitcher Hellweg here in the 4th. First pitch curveball to Francisco for ball 1. So your team just had their best player hit in the head. It wasn't intentional. Certainly nobody thinks that it was. The next batter gets hit by a pitch as well. As a team, how are you supposed to react to that?
Well, it's hard, Gary. It really is hard. It's you're angry. I think a big part of you wants to send a message that, hey, listen, I know he's not trying to do it, but still, you're hitting people, and you know, let's not make a joke of this now. You know, just because you're wild, you're allowed to hit people. So it would be a hard call, it really would. In today's game, it's usually the manager who makes the call. It used to be that you made the call yourself. And if I was in this situation, it would be a really hard call.
My feeling is, I remember back in '86, we played the Pirates in a late series. Leland was managing the Pirates. They had a young September call-up, a left-hander, threw hard. Latin kid who was wild as a March hare, and then he drilled me right in the back. I mean, square in the back. Leland came out of the dugout and yanked him because we were going to the playoffs. The Mets aren't going to the playoffs. I think if the Mets were going into the playoffs, the kid would be out of here.
Good change up by G to strike out Francisco, 1 away.
He'd be out of the game. Now, I wouldn't want my pitcher to retaliate. The kid's obviously, he's out of his league here. He's as wild as a March hare.
I think my call would be, Gary and Keith, is that what I'd finally come to is that why should the Brewers players, why should one of their players pay for something that the pitcher's just not ready to pitch in this game? I think that would be my final decision.
What about the pitcher? I mean, he's up next.
That's the guy you could draw.
But it's not intentional. It's just not intentional.
I'm just saying, we're talking about it. It's a hard call. I mean, I haven't come to a decision.
Jeff Bianchi blooped a single to center to drive in a run in the second. Well, the good news is that David Wright walked off the field under his own power, and I'm sure they'll have him checked out, but he appeared to be okay. There's the second out of the inning as Bianchi flies out.
I hope his thumb's okay, because it looked like he fell down on it and was kind of flexing it a little bit there, so that's worried about that also.
So now Hellweg will step in. Here's a few boos from the Met fans. Hellweg sacrificed his first time. Takes a strike. Here's David going down. Watch his right hand.
Could easily sprain a thumb there, or
Hellweg hits it sharply, but Quintanilla is right there. And G has his first 1-2-3 innings since the first. Middle of the fourth, 4-1 Brewers. Upgrade with Ron Darling.
Well, I think the upgrade I'm going to use tonight is on the back of Daniel Murphy's baseball card. I think he's just had a fine year, and to talk about him on the last series of the year, just to show you career highs in home runs, stolen bases, a stolen 20 in a row, RBIs, been out on the field 150 games plus. I think the upgrade for Daniel Murphy has just been outstanding. He's shown you what he can do over a full season.
Verizon Fios, making life more entertaining with America's fastest, most reliable internet. That's powerful. Travis d'Arnaud leads off in the bottom of the fourth for New York. Travis had a base hit his first time up, and as we move through the final days of the season, Keith is going to take us through his scouting reports on some of the young Met hitters, and Travis d'Arnaud, a perfect place to start.
Well, this young man was very impressive in spring training. Quick bat, that's one of his strengths. He's a line drive hitter. He came back up here with a little bit of a longer swing. Now, it's not going to pass any judgment here. He's got his batting average at 194 below. He's aware of that. He's pressing. He's pulling off a little bit of the ball, and the outside pitch is giving him trouble. I can say that he's probably pressing because he got off to a bad start. But, overall outlook, I think this kid could be potential. And it's early. I haven't seen a lot of him. I mean, he's not going to be a 20 home run guy. It's 10 to 15 home runs, 280 to 300. I like his defense. He's definitely someone that's part of the future plans of this ball club and should be. He's a good catcher, throws well. We'll see. The book's out on him. I'm not going to sit here after just 3 weeks of him being in the big leagues where he's gotten off to a bad start, and you just I've been down that road where you struggle and you start doing things, you get out of your game. But I do like his basic swing. He's got a fast bat. That's important. Goes the other way naturally into the gap. He drives it with authority, and he's got a chance.
Now, when you say he has a fast bat, but he has a long swing, what does that mean?
That's a good question. His swing, because it's gotten a little longer, it affects his bat speed. Now, the swings I saw in spring training, I went, holy cow, this kid's, oh boy, this guy is all over the place. They're going to have to get him out.
A 4-pitch walk to Darno, and now a wild pitch moves him to second.
Well, you turn into a little Gene Kelly or Fred Astaire here when you're up at the plate.
Alfredo Figueroa, who was up in the last inning, gets up again.
In spring training, he had a very fast bat. Hit line drives to gap. Now he's up here in the big show, and he's pressing a little bit, but he's holding his own. That's what I like so far. A lot of guys can just lose their confidence, Gare, and just the whole thing can collapse in them. They have a bad month, but he's slowly getting up to 200.
Well, that's the thing. Let me ask you this, because his numbers certainly have been better over the last week or so from the road trip and to his first couple of at-bats today. So do you see something different that has allowed him to have more success, or is it just him relaxing more?
He's been pulling the ball. He's been hitting the ball middle in. Okay, I would feel more comfortable if I saw him getting an outside pitch and driving it into right center field like he did in spring training. That would make me feel a whole lot better. So a lot of times it's where the pitches are. He's been handling and running. We made a note together that the home run he hit was a sinker ball inside corner. So I would feel better if he used the right center field gap, but I'm not. This is April. He's nervous. He's feeling his way through.
How much do you think, as Quintanilla goes down looking for the first out, how much do you think the mental strain, and maybe strain is a bad word, but all the things that a young catcher has to do when he comes to the big leagues affects the first month, the first 2 months for an offense, from an offensive standpoint, for a catcher compared to another player?
I'm not a catcher. I don't think that's as much a factor as that he's the big guy in the Dickey trade, and he comes here highly touted. And that's a lot of pressure. That's a board I don't like. But when you're young, it's pressure. Bob Kennedy was the farm director and said I was the next Stan Musial when I got called up to St. Louis, and I got off to a bad start. I heard it from the crowd, believe it or not, a little bit in St. Louis. And even if the crowd was mostly supportive in St. Louis, I felt that inner pressure I was the heir apparent. They traded Joe Torre to let me play first base. Well, Mets traded Dickey, Cy Young. He's the main guy in the trade. He's the guy. So it puts a focus on him, an added burden that he's going to have to fight through.
I think the other pressure is this is your shot. And this is your shot, and you want to make the most of it.
So you know what? Would you rather be working?
G hits one toward the middle. Bianchi able to make a nice stop and throws him out. Bianchi didn't get it cleanly, but kept it where he could find it and makes the play on G.
So point being, I know we can talk ourselves blue about this. He's in the big leagues. There's been hundreds and thousands of players that have been in his position before. You've worked your fanny off since you were a little kid. Your dad started throwing BP to you and playing Little League. You're there. The brass ring is right there. Just go out there and do it. It's a great opportunity. It's a great experience.
There's Eric Young with d'Arnaud now at 3rd and 2 out. Well, it's certainly been an interesting laboratory for the Mets these last few weeks to watch d'Arnaud and some of the other young players. And Keith will have scouting reports on several of the others as we move along the next few days.
Well, and they're all the young players that we're going to be doing this. And, you know, it just, for you fans out there, just take note. We just had a little bit of a tease of them. It took me 3 years, my 4th year before I developed into the player I was. So you can't make a judgment, quick judgments.
d'Arnaud is left at 3rd. Hellweg works his way through the 4th. 4-1 Milwaukee as we head to the 5th. Burkhardt is standing by with some special guests.
There are many folks, Gary, who are wondering what in the world you're going to watch at 6 o'clock on Monday when there are no Mets anymore. There are no, of course, first pitch, no pregame, no Mets, no Roger, no rerun, no rent. Where do you go? Well, I've got the answer for you. Covino and Rich, for those of you who know Sirius XM Radio and listen, they've been on the radio for 9 years, now bringing their show to SNY at 6 o'clock. No, it's a little bit of everything on your radio show. Rich, we'll start with you. Give me a little sense here. What are we going to be watching at 6 o'clock on SNY weekdays?
Whatever you and your buddies are talking about. Let's say you're at the bar, women, sports, entertainment. It's Miley Cyrus with his phone.
I was going to do my best Miley Cyrus, but I figured I don't want to embarrass anybody. But you know what guys talk about? For example, we know we could hit off of these guys. We know we can.
You can't, though. That's the thing.
If we had the chance, I think we could.
No, and...
Yeah.
You feel that one? I don't know. I think it's harder than it looks.
My ego says yes. Yeah. So we're just going to have a lot of fun from a fan perspective, really.
I have a big question. You got a Jersey guy and a Long Island guy. Usually that's like oil and water. It doesn't work. You know what I mean? So how did this whole love fest here, how did this man fest come together 10 years ago?
Well, to be honest, we met at a bar in Hoboken, and he was crying about a girl that dumped him, and I was the only one that would listen. And we became friends after that and been doing radio together for almost 10 years.
You realize we're on TV right now, right?
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I guess the rest is history, so.
The biggest difference between, going from radio to television, that's an adjustment, right?
We just have to, I guess, look as handsome as possible now. I don't know. We'll do our best doing that. But it's gonna be a lot of fun. We're really, really excited.
And I'll tell you what, I'm a diehard Mets fan, so honestly, hanging with you, Kev, and knowing that Gary, Keith, and Ron are in the booth is a thrill. Honestly, for real.
You said you had both Keith and Ronnie on at some point on the show, right?
They've both been on the show, and there we go.
Yeah, we never caught a foul ball ever. Never even came close. We were at the home run derby, and didn't even come close. Never.
Not even close. We're talking about the Mets right now, okay?
Oh, okay.
We're talking about Gary Cohen and his greatness.
Well, we want him to come by the show, too, yeah.
All right, so the open invitation again at 6 o'clock on weeknights. It'll start on Monday. Covino, Rich, fellas, it's a pleasure. Good luck with the show.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Back up to you guys.
Look forward to seeing the show. The highlight of that interview, though, was Kevin saying that Jersey and Long Island were like oil and water. That was perfect.
I thought the best part of it was saying Gary's greatness.
I didn't realize that you had been on their show, Keith.
Yes, I have.
Did you have a good time?
I think it was. Well, I forget.
Well, perhaps they'll have to have you on again now that they are colleagues of ours.
I'm sure
on SNY.
They will.
Scooter Jeanette with the defensive swing fouls it off.
Gosh.
Now they claim that you were on their show as well, Ronnie.
I was not on their show.
So we already have some controversy. That perhaps they'll address that in their on their opening show on SNY.
When's their opening show?
I believe that's Monday. 6 o'clock.
Exciting. In the
Good
morning or
in the evening?
Okay.
To take the place of first pitch, because there won't be any baseball anymore on Monday.
Oh.
It's not Mets baseball. There's a great changeup by G for his second strikeout. 2 out and nobody on. Jonathan Lucroy doubled over the head of Eric Young back in the third. 1 for 2. Dylan G had a nightmare inning in the second. Couple of walks, couple of bloops, a bleeder up the middle. Gave up 4 runs in that inning, but has settled down since. And now has retired 8 Brewers in a row.
You know, that's one of the things that I've seen from Dylan that probably didn't have in the past, Gary. If he was having a bad game, it was going to be a bad game. He would never kind of recover from it. And, you know, it's all part of becoming better and better, and he has. And that's the ability, hey, I gave up the runs. That's happened. That's the past. Let's move on and try to keep the team close, and maybe they'll rally for you.
Two out and nobody on. 1-1 to Lucroy. And he lifts one to right. Long run back toward the corner for Baxter. Near the wall. He reaches out and makes a nice catch right near the corner. Beautiful play by Baxter. Reaching right near the foul line. Like Sandy Amorose going the other way. for Sunday's game against the Titans with a constant flow of up-to-the-minute news and opinion, plus fan discussions, player profiles, and exclusive video on Jets blog featured on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. Your Pepsi fifth inning recap. Brewers scored 4 in the second, capped by Scooter Jeanette's 2-run single. Eric Young has stolen a couple of bases to tie for the league lead. The Brewers will make a pitching change as we go to the bottom of the fifth. Johnny Hellweg out, Alfredo Figueroa in.
Well, Figueroa made the team, the opening day roster, but then was sent down to Nashville. Just recently recalled a month ago when the Brewers traded John Axelrod, their closer, to St. Louis.
Hellweg somehow gave up only 1 run in his 4 innings of work. He gave up 2 hits, 4 walks, and 2 hit batsmen, threw a wild pitch, but gave up just the 1. Daniel Murphy leads off, then Justin Turner and Lucas Duda for the Mets in the home fifth. Murphy's 0 for 2. He's driven in the only Met run with a ground out, and Figueroa gets ahead of him 0-2. So a troubled game for Hellweg, but ultimately I guess you'd have to say successful.
4 innings?
4 innings, 1 run. That's 2.25.
Not as a starter, but I know what you're saying.
Let's just lower the bar.
I mean, you know, just to me, Hellweg, it's nice to have the experimentation because you're a team out of it, but you know, he should be in an instructional league, learning his craft, not here.
By the way, they are saying about David Wright, who was hit in the helmet by a Hellweg fastball, that he was taken out for precautionary reasons, which is kind of what we thought. We don't know if he has been examined medically, but we have to assume that they'll do all the necessary tests to see if he's had a concussion. Grounded down to first for Francisco, and Murphy retired 1 away. I mean, that's just, you do that in due course now.
Standard operating procedure, yeah.
So 1 out. Now Turner will bat for the first time. Came in to replace Wright. Justin started at third base yesterday in Cincinnati and went 1 for 4. He swung the bat very well down the stretch, but had to sit out a couple of weeks with a hamstring injury of his own and made his return yesterday. 29-year-old Alfredo Figueroa, former Detroit Tiger, in his first year for Milwaukee. And throws a curveball for a strike. And Turner lines a base hit. Chased toward the line by Davis. And Turner will stay where he is. If his hamstring was a little healthier, he might have tried for 2 against the pop gun arm of Chris Davis.
Hanging slider just enough. Turner keeps his hands back. Let's go with 1 hand. Got the big leg kick, Turner.
So here's Duda, who's been on base twice tonight. A walk and a hit by pitch. Gets his on base percentage back over .350. But just 1 hit in his last 25 at bats. And Figueroa commits a balk, stumbling coming out of his stretch. And Turner will go to second base. Ronnie, maybe you can take us through what happened there.
Well, he catches a heel on his left spike. When he comes out, oh no, he didn't. I think he just lost control of the ball. I don't know what to tell you, folks.
Can I see it again, please? I didn't see what happened. I'm like Ron. I'm at sea.
So apparently it's Alfredo.
Look at the shortstop laughing.
So Turner's at second with 1 out. And Duda takes it up and away. Look at the throwing arm of Chris Davis in left field.
Well, he did everything right, got to it, but.
Oh, hand grenade.
Well, that is the scouting report on Chris Davis, that he just can't throw. Mike Baxter waits on deck. Duda takes a changeup off the plate, 2-1. Checking out the American League wild card race. Tampa Bay leads the Yankees 1-0 in the 6th. Cleveland and Minnesota no score in the 3rd, and Texas up 3-1 on the Angels in the 2nd. Team with the most pressure, obviously Texas. They're a game behind. Francisco makes the play to Figueroa, and they get Duda for the 2nd out as Turner goes over to 3rd. All 3 of those teams with 4 games to play going into the night, and it is wide open. Just 2 games separating the 3 teams, 2 of whom will make it into the postseason.
I thought that the Angels would play Texas tough because they, Josh Hamilton's on that Angels team. They're playing their best baseball they played all season long, but behind early.
Cadillac drive around the majors. Angels got a great effort out of Jared Weaver last night, beat Oakland. And that really puts a crimp in Oakland's quest to have the best record in the American League because they're now 2 games behind Boston.
So right now Oakland will play Detroit and Boston will play the winner of the wild card games.
Right. In the National League, the Cardinals have a half game lead actually over the Braves for that best record in the league. Baxter lifts one to left. And Davis is there. And that retires the side. A single and 1 left. 5 in the books now. 4-1 Milwaukee. Torres goes tomorrow night against Giovanni Gallardo. Aaron Harang Saturday afternoon against Jimmy Nelson, who gets his first big league start. And either John Neese or Daisuke Matsuzaka Sunday against Marco Estrada in the season finale. Chris Davis leads off in the 6th inning and takes a strike. Davis walked and scored a run in the 2nd, flied out to center field in the 3rd. Davis has had just 130 at bats, but he has 10 home runs.
Another guy who got a little trouble there. Dylan G. Got a spike caught. Ronnie looked like.
It would figure that a guy named Chris Davis would have a pretty good home run ratio.
That's right. Chris Davis's year.
The year of the Chris Davis. This one a mere single for Davis. And he is aboard to start the 6th inning. Let's check in with Brian Custer in the studio for a game break presented by your local Tri-Honda dealers. Thank you, Brian. That's very kind.
Brian, jeez, I'll have to take you to dinner.
Yindel grounds one down to first. Duda picks off the lead runner, and the relay not in time. Boy, Duda just looks so comfortable around first base these last couple of weeks.
Looks so much more athletic from that position, doesn't he?
Well, he comes to the ball, does everything right. A little bit high in the throw, but it was a tough double play anyway, and that's. But everything done properly. Yes, he's been playing very well over there.
Dylan G almost sprained his ankle going to cover first. He kind of his foot slid over the bag. Looks like he's all right.
By the way, it would certainly be incumbent upon us to mention that Brian Custer presides over the greatest football postgame show on television.
There you go.
Jets Postgame Live with that crew. Here's Yuniesky Betancourt. And he takes ball one. Betancourt is popped up and flied out 0 for 2. I mean, if you're a Jets fan, when the game's over, you immediately go to those guys.
Yeah.
Especially if they lose. Nobody's more entertaining. One to Betancourt. Gindel diving back. Tough play. G on the backhand and the off balance throw.
Nice.
And Duda can't pick it out. Well, it's a play like Daisuke Matsuzaka made yesterday in Cincinnati. But a low throw, and Duda couldn't quite dig it out.
An off balance throw and a nice play by G, just not quite picked. It's quick off the mound, Ronnie.
Yeah, that's one of those where I know it's hard not to, but you want to leave this go. You want Turner to make this play because his momentum's all coming towards the bag. But, you know, it's hard to do that when you're trying to make an athletic play.
So it's an infield hit for Betancourt, and the Brewers have 2 men on. And now Juan Francisco, who snuck one through the middle for a base hit to drive in a run in the 2nd, then struck out in the 4th. Good fastball by G, 0-1. Brewers today 3 for 7 with runners in scoring position. It's not been their forte this year. This is just 243 as a team and only 182 as a team this year with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. That is just dreadful. Your Verizon text, Paul, what was your favorite Mets moment this season? The Valdespin walk-off grand slam, the Neuenhuis 3-run homer against the Cubs. 2 days later, the Harvey Wheeler doubleheader in Atlanta, the Subway Series sweep, or the Matt Harvey All-Star Game start. Lots of choices. Text 56812. That'll be an interesting poll.
I have a hunch which one's going to win.
1 and 2 to Francisco. I know what I would say, but I'm not going to say. I'll wait till.
Yeah, because you don't want to influence the.
Do you have one?
Yes,
I have one.
I guess we're trying to guess what the Met fans are going to bet. Text.
I'm interested to hear whether we all agree.
Okay.
On the one.
I bet you we don't.
Fly ball right center, long run over for Dendecker, but he'll get there. And that's the second out of the inning, and the runners hold. So 2 out and 2 on, and now the number 8 hitter Jeff Bianchi, who blooped a single to center to drive and run in the second when the Brewers got all 4 of their runs. Bianchi 1 for 2 on the night. Two out and 2 on. And G comes up and in. If Dillon gets through this inning, he is due to bat 4th in the bottom of the 6th. Now, if he gets through this inning, he's at 199 innings for the year. If his turn comes up and the Mets are down in the game, normally you would bat for him. But would Terry leave him in to try and get him to 200 innings?
No, you bat for him. I think you got to try to win.
Try to win the ball game.
Fly ball to right field, and Baxter is there waiting for it, and that retires the side. Brewers strand 2 in the top of the 6th. Mets come up trailing 4-1. Dendecker has only just started his major league career. His arrival delayed by a broken wrist this spring. And as Keith takes us through some of the young players and their scouting reports, Dendecker is next.
Well, we've got 56 at-bats to go by and what we've seen in spring training. 26 years old. His time is now. I like his short swing. I think he's got a big upside. I do think that he's got potential for 20. He's a big, strong kid. He needs to use his legs more in his swing, not be such an upper body hitter. The book's out, as in d'Arnaud, but I've obviously liked this kid more, a lot of all the September call-ups.
Strokes one down to third, and Betancourt makes the play to get Dendecker one away. Let's go to Kevin Burkhardt. His report is brought to you by Hyundai. Kevin?
Well, I was speaking with Matt today about what he's learned since being here and what he feels about himself, just hitting at this level, facing this type of pitching. And he said, well, yeah, it's obviously different. You don't have any you don't have any level that really drops. Guys hit their spots, they pitch. But I'm comfortable. I feel like I can certainly be better. I know I can do better, but I've been working hard. He's going to go to winter ball, guys, and play winter ball for a month. Going to come home for a little while. His sister's going to get married. But he said he had a conversation with Terry Collins, and Terry said, listen, yeah, you missed some time this year with the wrist injury, and that's part of it. But Terry felt that the competition in winter ball is really good, and he thought the competition and the at-bats would really help Dendecker going into spring training. Matt said, I'm an aggressive guy. I like to swing at the first pitch, and it's just kind of finding the balance between that and cutting down the strikeouts a little bit as Darno has himself a base hit, Keith.
Well, there it is, Kev, what I said earlier about him using the opposite field. So those are good signs. He's starting to swing the bat a lot better.
Let's go back to Dendecker for a moment, because, unlike many of the quote-unquote younger players, he's 26 years old. It's kind of a now or never for him.
Well, I think it's a good thing he goes to winter ball. I think it's good that he goes there and gets that experience. That's AAA level. You got some big leaguers playing there. He can run, Gary. He's got a good arm. He can play the outfield. I can foresee in the future Lagares and him in that outfield, and I would feel very good about those two guys out there. He's got a short stroke. That we talked about his follow through is almost like Chase Utley. You just saw him hit that ball to third baseman right there. It was a pitch knee high outside corner. He's got a nice short stroke. I think he's got tremendous upside. I'm going to be following him closely, watching him progress.
So when you say stay on top of the ball more, what are we talking about?
Hit line drives. This is a big ballpark. You can't, if you've got to hit line drives. You hit home runs by mistakes, unless you're these big, powerful guys that are, the home run hitters, the Davises and all that. But in this ballpark, on a course of 81 home games, if you hit the ball in the air, lift it too much, you're not going to hit for an average. This is a park made for a line drive hitter like Murphy. You hit 40 doubles. You can have a field day in this park if you're a line drive hitter and go gap to gap.
Zach Lutz on deck to bat for Dylan G.
I mean, one of the comments that I did not like out of Dendecker was a game last homestand where he said he went through the at bat and he had a 2-0 count, and he said I had a swing to go for the downs, he said, and I overswung. You haven't been in the big leagues long enough to be doing that. Hit a line drive, hit a double. That's for veterans to do that. You're trying to make an impression here to Terry Collins and Sandy Alderson that, hey, I can play. I want to be your right fielder next year.
Tim Burdick up in the bullpen for the Mets. Well, it's all there for him. I mean, you can certainly say that about a number of these Mets players, but the Mets started the year unsure about anybody in their outfield. Lagares has made an impression with his defense and made strides offensively. Marlon Byrd had a great year, but he's gone now, and there are spots open in that outfield waiting. And the question is, are the Mets going to try and fill those with more veteran players, or are they going to give Dendecker a chance to be a starting player next year?
Well, it's been a little troubling that he hasn't been playing more here in September. It's a good time to get a look at him, like we're getting a look at Darno every day.
2-2 to Quintanilla, who's 0 for 2 on the day.
Keith, I have a question. In terms of watching next spring, what are we looking for? What will we see that will give us a clue that they have taken the next step? Once we get into spring training and play 10 games, what can we see from a Dendecker that might give us a clue that he has gone to that next step and maybe is going to be that much better?
Well, Kev, you never see that in spring training. It's got to be production during the season, a full season.
Davis has it for the second out.
It's got to be producing and improving every year when you're in the big leagues during the regular season. A lot of guys have had great springs, Kev, and we've seen it certainly. And Zach Lutz, Ronnie Uger, good call. They're going to pinch hit Lutz for G. A lot of guys burn it up in spring, and then when the season starts, they fall by the wayside. So we will not be able to make that judgment. I mean, we haven't even got anything to fall on right now to any default because Dendecker hasn't had a season in the big leagues.
Zach Lutz pinch hitting. He's been swinging the bat very well in his opportunities in September, and he takes ball 1. So this will leave Dylan G at 199 innings for the season, and it makes me wonder, will the Mets try and get him an inning in relief on Sunday?
Well, I think Nice is going to have one of those games on Sunday, Gary, if he pitches. I know it's TBA to be announced, but if Nice pitches, I think it'll be a 5, at the most, a 6-inning effort. So he could get G an inning in Sunday's game.
Even if Nice doesn't pitch, if Daisuke starts after pitching on 3 days rest, that would be a short one, too.
Guys, I was sitting on the bench with Ed Coleman for the game, and Nice came in, and Ed asked him if he's pitching, and he said he is. Now, obviously, that's not official, but if you're going by John, he said he's throwing Sunday, so we'll see.
I know he wants to pitch. One and one to Lutz, and takes a slider in the dirt.
There's got to be some temptation for any general manager to look at what Ben Cherington did with the Red Sox, adding some veteran outfielders to go along with some of his young outfielders, and got unbelievable production and went from 69 wins to 96 this year in 1 year.
Lutz is 3 for 6 as a pinch hitter. And he takes a fastball in the corner, 2-2. Well, the Red Sox are an interesting case this year because, yes, they brought in some players who have upgraded them, but they've also gotten tremendous years out of the people who were there before.
Joy has been great. Ellsbury, who's been hurt, has been good when he's playing. But, you know, they didn't get the kind of play from Middlebrooks that they thought they were going to get.
Until lately.
Gomes has been great. Victorino. The real breakout, Daniel Nava, who's played a lot of positions, the switch hitter that has turned into some player.
Darno gets set to run. 3-2 coming to Lutz. And he bounces one over the mound toward the middle. Over comes Bianchi, and he can't make the play. And it's an infield hit for Zach Lutz. Not sure whether he couldn't get out of his glove or just thought he didn't have a play.
I don't think he would have thrown him out. If he makes the play and makes the exchange. You've got to come in a little bit different angle on that ball.
Yeah, he didn't get the handle. See how kind of juggling in his glove.
So Lutz gets a base hit. He's now 4 for 7 as a pinch hitter. And the Mets get the tying run to the plate with Eric Young, who has a single, a walk, 2 stolen bases, and a run scored today. And the curveball fouled off. The Mets are 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position today. Had plenty of chances against Johnny Hellweg, who walked 4, hit a couple of batters. Darno and Lutz, the base runners, with 2 outs. Young drove in the only run for the Mets in yesterday's game. See those numbers. And Figueroa quickly ahead on Young, 0-2. David Ardsma alongside Tim Burdack in the Mets bullpen.
Look at Terry. Terry is, look at his eyes. He is in the game. He never falls asleep. He is on point. I mean, I want him to be my platoon sergeant.
There have been some incredibly misguided stories written over the last few days about the Mets' position in the draft and whether they would have to forfeit a pick if they signed a free agent, depending on whether they won or lost games down the stretch.
Who writes that?
Stories that have implied that the Mets should try to lose down the stretch. There's nobody in uniform who would ever think that way. Not one person ever.
Not the way they're playing, and not, you know what they were watching in Cincinnati. Did they see those efforts in Cincinnati by the team? the way, Keith, I didn't know you were enlisting.
Actually, go ahead.
I was just going to say it was nice to hear Sandy Alderson really put an end to that bunk as well. And we can talk about that more with Sandy tomorrow. He's going to be in the booth with us during the game. But, you know, Sandy said, look, what do we do on the field and what happens in terms of free agency and the draft and all that, those two things are completely unconnected. Try to win as many games as you can, no matter what. Period. And the other stuff, I can't believe some of what I've been reading the last couple of weeks. It's just so silly. 2 out, 2 on, 2-2 to Young. And there's ball 3. And I think the reason it's getting written is because of what happened last winter with the Michael Bourne situation. Because the Mets either would or would not have forfeited a draft pick had they signed Bourne, and it was in question, and that brought it to everybody's attention. Runners get set to go, 3-2, and Young hits it in the air to left, chasing Davis back, or way back to the warning track. He runs it down. Well, Young gave it a pretty good ride to the opposite field, but Chris Davis equal to the task, and that retires the side. Mets leave 2 in the 6th and trail it 4-1. Tomorrow, Joe Klecko and Joe Morris will be in studio to join the debate about this weekend's Jets and Giants matchups. Plus, get live reports from Citi Field before the Mets Brewers game on Daily News Live, presented by Citi. Tomorrow at 5 p.m. only on SNY. Bringing the results of our Verizon text poll. Mets moment of the season. 65% said the Subway Series sweep. That was not mine.
Oh, that was mine.
That was mine.
Yeah,
I had the Harvey Wheeler doubleheader. To me, that was
really.
It was a seminal day.
No,
for the
I
Mets.
just felt that's what the fans were going to vote.
Okay.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense. But to me, that day in Atlanta, that was when the Met fans got a glimpse of the future. With Harvey pitching the day game and Wheeler the night game and the Mets sweeping.
So I am with you. I think that was the biggest moment. But I was trying to guess what the Mets fans would, and 4 games out of 4 from the Yankees.
It's hard to argue with that.
Met fans, they had the savior. I just knew it was going to be that sweep.
Sean Halton pinch hitting, swings at Tim Burdach's first pitch near the short fence. It's Murphy in fair territory. I don't think Duda knew where the ball was.
Well, it's a tough play for Duda. It's either Murph or Baxter. That's the triangle they call it. Baxter knows Murph well, that Murph likes to be involved in everything. Probably backed off. It's probably Baxter's ball.
Baxter's already made his terrific play for the night. So 1 out now. Nori Aoki, who's 0 for 2 and a walk. So Dylan G in his final start of the season, 89 pitches, 6 innings, 4 runs, 7 hits, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. And so Dylan will be stuck on 12 wins. And again, now at 199 innings, maybe he gets an inning in relief on Sunday to get him to 200. Rob Wooten is up in the bullpen for Milwaukee.
Could vulture a win, too, you know, Gary. If you pitch an inning, you could vulture a win.
You never know. By the way, we saw Sean Halton pinch hit from Milwaukee. The Brewers in September are in a stunning position of having only 3 available players on their bench tonight. Carlos Gomez suspended for this one game. Gene Segura is hurt. Aramis Ramirez is hurt. They don't have many September call-ups, so that left them with Halton, the backup catcher Martin Maldonado, and the outfielder left-hand hitter Logan Schaefer. That's it. That's all Ron Renick's got tonight. Slapped to short. Quintanilla circles in to get it. The low throw, and
Nice.
Duda picks this one out nicely for the second out. Boy, Duda's done a nice job picking out balls in the dirt.
He's very natural with the scoops. He starts from the floor up. And he's got an idea. You can tell he's played it. Well, you know, both he and Ike know how to scoop them.
Watch his right foot.
Is he on the bag? We might have to have one of those super slows there.
Or one of those zooms.
Yep.
He's on the bag on September 26th, I'll tell you that.
Good enough for Dale Scott. Dale's been around for a long time. He knows what time of year it is. There's Dale, 27 years in the big leagues. 2 out and nobody on now. Scooter Gennett, who has the biggest hit in this game, a 2-run single in the second inning. Gennett, a 16th round draft pick out of high school in 2009, who has simply hit at every level. Just 5'9", 165 pounds, but here he is in the big leagues hitting .328. Took over as the everyday second baseman when Ricky Weeks went down with a hamstring injury. Weeks has another year left on his contract next year, which will create an interesting dilemma. I think he's owed about $9 million next year. Might be a scenario where the Brewers try and deal him and pick up some of his salary. Because right now, Gennett looks like their second baseman of the present. Burdack looking for a 1-2-3 inning. Times have been tough for Tim since he came back from capsule surgery.
You know, you and I were talking about it today after watching the fine job that Pedro Feliciano did yesterday and getting that huge out. Maybe Burdack at some point might think of dropping his arm angle down a little bit to make it his job a little easier against these left-handed hitters.
Gennett floats one into left. Over comes Young. Side retired. So Burdack with a 1-2-3 inning. 7th inning stretch time at Citi Field. 4-1 Milwaukee. postgame. Joined former special teams coach Mike Westhoff, who joins the crew to bring you a complete game breakdown. Plus, hear exclusive on-field interviews and Rex Ryan's postgame comments on Jets Postgame Live, presented by Toyota, Sunday immediately after the Jets-Titans game with Brian Custer, only on SNY. SNY Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Rob Wooten will pitch for the Brewers as we go to the bottom of the seventh.
Well, he was brought up in July. He had 20 saves in the Pacific Coast League and then proceeded to pitch 10 scoreless innings on his first 10 outings. Had a outing in St. Louis where he gave up 5 runs in 2/3 of an inning. That really shot up that ERA.
Wooten was a college teammate of Matt Harvey's at the University of North Carolina. He was a junior when Matt was a freshman. Sinker bowling right-hander. Daniel Murphy leads off against him. Murphy's hit the ball on the ground 3 times today. Drove in a run with his ground out in the 3rd, the only run the Mets have scored today. And he lifts this one to left center field, hit pretty well back toward the wall. That ball is off the base of the fence. Murphy to second. He pulls in there with his 37th double of the year.
Back to the 370 mark, off the base of the wall. And Davis likes to play a shallow outfield, and late in the ball game with a 3-run lead, got to play a little bit deeper. Just not deep, but you just got to back up a little bit. You got to be smart. And you got a 3-run lead you're protecting. And with the Turner's up right now, he's playing shallow.
Justin came in the game when David Wright was hit in the helmet by a pitch in the 3rd inning. David left under his own power, was taken out for precautionary reasons, but appears to be okay. Turner had a base hit and is only at bat in the 5th inning. Let's check in with Kevin.
You know, guys, we're talking all day about some of these young hitters for the Mets, and Keith giving your scouting report on them. And Josh Satin has really come up and opened some eyes, done some really nice things, gotten an opportunity for the first time in his career. I asked him about his self-assessment and what he needs to do a little bit differently as Turner will tap out to the pitcher here. That'll move Murphy to 3rd. He said, you know, I think the one thing that I've done pretty well is I've put myself in a position to succeed most at bats, have the quality at bat. Is it a little frustrating that we get to the end of those at bats and I'm doing a good job and strike out? Yeah, it is. I think I've struck out too many times, that's for sure. He said, but there's a fine line there. I also don't want to just put the ball in play earlier in the count if it's really not my type of pitch. And I think I've done a pretty good job trying to put myself in an opportunity to have success. What he said he needs to change is next year, he called it going out of his comfort zone. He said, you know, there's situations where I think I need to do better, where guy on 3rd, I've got to attack early, you know, get a fly ball, get a ground ball to the right side to get the runner over, to get the runner in. That's the one thing I don't feel like I've done enough this year. I'm going to work on it, hopefully get better this year. And it was reminiscent, guys, of the conversation you had about Joey Votto in Cincinnati the other day when he was talking about it.
It's interesting as you started that conversation. It's exactly what I was thinking, Kevin. And you know, it's one thing for Joey Votto to talk about this thing. It's a lot harder when you're a player at 28 years old still trying to get established.
I would like to hear. I like the fact that Josh said attack early in the count, early in the at bat. There's no, a lot of times that 0-0 pitch is the best pitch you're going to get. That being said, you want to get the runner over, but if I don't drive him in, at least I get him over. I want to drive him in. So very funky defense out here for Duda in the infield.
3-1 to Lucas, who's been on base twice tonight.
Second baseman's way in the outfield grass, and I think way too close to the first baseman. Both back, but look at the left side of the infield. It's a big hole between that shortstop and the second baseman.
3-1 from Wooten, and it's pulled foul. Well, here's Keith's scouting report on Josh Satin.
Well, you know, Josh is 28 years old. He has a good knowledge of the strike zone. That's what's impressed me the most. He's a line drive hitter. He doesn't run well. Doesn't have a position. Needs to learn one or two to be a utility player. But I think he's proven to be a clutch hitter off the bench. He's hitting the clutch. A tough strikeout. He's a guy I look overall outlook going forward with this team as a guy that can come off the bench late in the game as a pinch hitter that can get you when you just need a base hit to get back in the ball game or to go ahead, ball 4 to Duda, tie the game up, because he's a tough out and a tough strikeout. He's a line, doesn't go out of his game, hits the ball to all fields. I mean, we saw him when he got off hot, and he hasn't played much, and he's still, Gary, not playing as much as he did when he came up when he was red hot. Right. He still held his own.
You know, Keith, on that, think about it. He came up, he was playing a lot, and then the playing time very sporadic, and he still performed in those clutch situations. He said Marlon Byrd really helped him just kind of finding checkpoints to go back to when you're a little bit cold. He says he feels like he can get into that mode and get out of a slump. At least he hopes.
Mike Baxter, the tying run at the plate, takes a strike. Mets are 0 for 12 with runners in scoring position tonight. Was that something that Baxter learned very well last year, learning how to be that guy off the bench and be successful in that role? And some guys adapt to that better than others.
Well, guys that have short swings, compact swings, are more suited to come off the bench because there's less movement. The shortest point to be from point A to point B is a straight line. Well, if you got a short stroke, compact swing, that's like going from point A to point B in a straight line. And those are the guys you want off your bench. And I think Josh could be a very effective bench player.
Let me ask you this. In order to do that, does he have to take some of that pre-swing movement out?
It's all about all that stuff before. As long as it's the take back when you start your swing. I don't care about all the movement before the pitch.
Baxter hits a double play ball to Jeanette. The turn by Bianchi in time for the 4-6-3 double play, and the inning is over. So the Mets get a leadoff double from Murphy, cannot convert. We head to the 8th with the Brewers still up 4-1. A special pregame ceremony will take place before the 1:10 game. All fans in attendance will receive a commemorative Mike Piazza t-shirt courtesy of Citi. Visit Mets.com for tickets. Recently, Gary Apple sat down with Mike Piazza for a wide-ranging conversation. Mike talked during that interview about the pressures of playing in New York and how he handled them.
I had great teammates. I had great family support. And I just had this innate ability to focus and really concentrate and not get so caught up in the whirlwind. And I pointed to a time in my life that when Roy Campanella was telling me as a kid with the Dodgers, and he said, just play the game. Like all these other things like media and expectations and pressures and being in the Big Apple and all these things that encompass playing here, I was able to just go, just play baseball. And that was kind of my refuge. You know, that was my peace, where on the field nobody could bother you. No one, you just enjoy the competition.
And that interview can be heard in its entirety on SNY on November 21st, a special on Mike Piazza's induction into the Mets Hall of Fame. Meanwhile, David Arnsma comes in, and his first pitch hits Jonathan Lucroy.
He just got his jersey.
Could that have been retaliation for David Wright getting hit in the head earlier in the game?
I don't think so. I think Arnsman's been a little bit wild with his fastball. I don't know.
3-hitter for 3-hitter?
What do you think, Ron?
Well, it's always hard up here to accuse someone of throwing at someone, but he missed his target, which was low and away, by 8 feet. Darno comes and steps in front of him, too. That's a interesting move.
No reaction from Lucroy.
Good for him.
I mean, yeah, oh, come on. What is that great interview when Jack Lambert, the old Hall of Fame linebacker with no front teeth, when they started making rules to protect the quarterbacks? I'll never forget. It was in the 70s. And he said, well, pretty soon they'll be putting skirts on them. I'll never forget it.
Lucroy runs, and he'll steal the base, and that's his response.
Yeah.
His 8th stolen base of the year.
Lucroy's a pro.
So that's how you get even. If you feel you've been thrown at.
Boy, to look in, I wonder if there's a hit and run on.
So runner in scoring position with nobody out. Davis 1 for 2 and a walk today. And Chris with a K fouls it back 2-2.
Yeah, I was interested. It was interesting to listen to Mike talk about that. That was, boy, you'd love to have him come and speak to the players who play here or in spring training to let them know what it's going to be like. Because I know for myself personally, what I did is would not read the papers or at least the sports sections for the 6 months that they played.
Well, now it's a lot more complicated because
more,
sports radio and Twitter and the internet and everything else. Fly ball to center, and Dendecker is there. Lucroy will hold it second, but really it comes down to 3 words, right? Ignore the noise.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I think that was great advice, and that's, you know, we always talk about having veterans on your team. Hawkins here. What better veteran than Roy Campanella, the Hall of Fame catcher for the Brooklyn Dodgers? I think that was just great advice. Play the game.
Because you're tempted, guys, after, let's say, a pitcher, you throw a shutout, like you want to dig yourself for a day. But you know what? It's already passed. It's already gone. You're already on to your next start. So why even tempt yourself to play that high and low game?
Caleb Gindel 1 for 3 on the day and takes a fastball strike.
I would be lying if I said I didn't read the papers. And when I was younger, if I was going bad, and I would not read them. If I was going great, boy, what a front runner I was.
Well, you're allowed to be a front runner for yourself.
But as I got older, Gary, I read the stories in the paper, and it never bothered me. I mean, I was confident let's just say my entire Met career, I was confident in my abilities. I was a veteran, and I knew I was going to have my slumps. I knew I was going to have my days where I left men on base and didn't come through in the clutch, but I knew there would be more days than I did. But I did succeed, so it never really bothered me.
Oh, Arnsman knocks it down, finds it, and throws out Gindel for the second out. It hit Arnsman in the foot, and it was right there for the taking. 2 out. Let's check in with Brian Custer in the studio for another game break presented by Nissan. Meanwhile, the Rangers are down 4-3 to the Angels in the 5th, and the Rays are up 4-0 on the Yankees in the 8th in that close American League wild card race.
Well, skate save.
And a beauty.
Off the back heel.
Usually you get this advice from your fellow fielders who start screaming as soon as it hits you and you can't find it. Right there, right there,
Yeah,
right there.
Where's right there?
Yuniesky Betancourt 1 for 3 tonight. Runner at third and 2 out. And he grounds one foul, 1-1. One and 1 to Betancourt, and he's late on the fastball. 1-2. Here's tonight's AT&T trivia question: the oldest player to lead the Mets in average in a season. It's a good one.
I think I have it. I could be wrong.
And a good breaking ball by Arnsman to strike out Betancourt and strand Lucroy at third. That sends us to the bottom of the 8th. Still 4-1 Milwaukee. Rethink possible. By State Farm tonight. State Farm agent of the day is Alan Wheeler of Brooklyn. Contact Alan's office at alanwheeler.net. And by Bob's Discount Furniture, proud to be the furniture store of the New York Mets. Changes for the Brewers as we go to the bottom of the 8th. Logan Schaefer comes in to play center field. He'll hit 9th. Nori Aoki moves from center field to his normal position, right field. And the new pitcher for the Brewers is right-hander Brandon Kinsler.
Well, he's gotten better as the season has gone along. He's been unscored upon his last 6 appearances, but his last 56, his ERA is just a smidge over 2. So Kinsler has improved this year at the big league level.
His 4th year with the Brewers. Matt Dendecker leads off in the bottom of the 8th. Mets have had plenty of chances in this game. 6 hits, 5 walks, a couple of hit batsmen. Mets have left 10 runners on base through the first 7 innings. 0 for 13 with runners in scoring position. Dendecker 0 for 3, flied out, struck out, grounded out. Starter Johnny Helweg went only 4 innings for Milwaukee. So if the Brewers win, the official score will have to choose a winning pitcher. Probably Alfredo Figueroa went 2 scoreless innings behind Hellweg. Brewers got their 4 runs in the second. Mets got their only run in the third. And Decker fouls one off his leg 0-2. Mets have already had a game this year where they were 0 for 19 with runners in scoring position, but it took them 20 innings to do it against Miami back in June. That's the longest game in the major leagues this year, a year in which there have been more extra inning games played than any year in major league history. Decker out on strikes, 1 away.
Well, Arizona's in extra innings now, so that's what, 239 is the number?
And they have, the Diamondbacks, played more extra innings than any team in the league, including the Mets.
Well, Ronnie, you were talking about the Angels playing Texas tough. They took the lead, huh? In the 5th.
Here's d'Arnaud, who's been on base 3 times, 2 singles and a walk. Well, 3 more games remain after today, but today is the final game of the season for an essential piece of our crew. Kevin Burkhardt will be off doing his football thing this weekend, and so this is Kevin's last game of the season. And Kevin, I assume you have your suitcase packed and ready to go?
Something like, Gary. It's very full of stuff. Between coming back from Cincinnati and now going to Kansas City, it's all kinds of stuff in there. But yeah, it's weird because, you know, I traveled for football last year, but the season ended midweek. So to miss the final game, I don't know, I feel kind of incomplete, you know?
Well, you'll be here in spirit, I'm sure, on Sunday. It's going to be a big day here with Mike Piazza's festivities and the closing day. But this is your 7th year with us coming to a close.
That is crazy, isn't it? I mean, you guys have one more on me because Chris Cotter did an awesome job in year 1. But yeah, it's 7 years. It's just gone by so fast. It really has. It's incredible.
So, you know, we just polled the fans about their highlight for 2013 as d'Arnaud takes a call, 3rd strike, 2 out. Do you have a personal highlight for this season?
I have 2. One was being here for the Harvey Strasburg game. I don't know. There was something about that night. You know, the crowd was really alive and into it. They were chanting, and it just kind of had the sense that, you know what, for once the Mets have that guy. You know, that guy that blows everybody away and throws 100 miles an hour, and that was really cool. And then I think from a personal standpoint, if I could be selfish for a second, the game against the Yankees that Harvey pitched, and I sat with Dwight Gooden for the game. I mean, that was, for me, you know, kid growing up a Met fan, an experience I'll never forget. That was just awesome. So I'd have to pick those 2, Gary.
Well, Kevin, you have had a fantastic year, and we appreciate everything you do. And good luck. Have a great football season.
Oh, you guys are all the best. I appreciate it. It's been another great year. So thank you for everything, everybody, and you guys in the truck, the whole crew.
We're going to the 9th here at Citi Field. Brewers 4, Mets 1. Gary Apple, who will be playing the role of Kevin Burkhardt for the next 3 days. We look forward to that.
Very nice.
Frank Francisco, who last we saw him, was ignoring a sign for a pitch out.
But he still got through that inning unscored upon. Caesars Atlantic City numbers for Frank Francisco.
It'll be Francisco squared to lead off in the 9th inning. Frank against Juan, who is 1 for 3 on the day. 4-1 Milwaukee as we start the 9th inning. And Juan Francisco takes ball 1. Jeff Bianchi on deck. And then Logan Schaefer for the Brewers in the top of the 9th. So it turns out that inning where the Angels scored 3 runs against the Rangers in the second, the Rangers committed 4 errors in 1 inning. That's a team fighting for a postseason berth. I mean, we just saw the Reds for 3 days play with incredible lack of urgency for a team that was fighting for playoff position. There's Jim Henderson up in the bullpen. Sometimes you can't tell the contenders from the pretenders the final week of the season.
And then with the wild cards now, there's always a lot of pretenders. Although there have been some wild cards that have won it. Won the brass ring.
There's never been a pretender like Chrissy Hine. According to Dave Freed, Keith Hernandez faced 2 Hernandezes in his career.
I faced Willie and Ramon. Thank you. Both.
Ramon was pretty tough.
Ramon was he was with the Pirates and also the Cubs, and then of course Willie Hernandez I faced with the Cubs until he left the league and went over to Detroit.
So are all Hernandezes left-handed?
They were all tough, very talented young men.
Juan Francisco flies one to the corner where Eric Young gets there. 1 away. Hey, how about we answer the AT&T trivia question? The question today was, who was the oldest player to lead the Mets in average in a season?
Moises Alou was my guess.
I'll say Richie Ashburn.
Ricky Henderson, 1999, his good year with the Mets.
Okay.
Not to be confused with 2000, his card-playing year.
Did you have it?
I thought it, but I didn't say it, so I won't take credit for it. Here's Jeff Bianchi, who's 1 for 3, singled in a run back in the second. Ooh, and trying to bunt at it. Did he offer at it? It hit him. But if he offered at it, he doesn't get first base.
Come on back, kid. Can't go to first.
And they say that he did offer, and they're going to send him back.
Yep.
Adding insult to injury.
Yes, he did.
And Ron Renicky will come out to ask C.B. Buckner about it. Now, Buckner did not make the call. The first base umpire, Dale Scott, did. And Renicky just checking to see that Buckner did ask for help, which he did.
Caromed off all 3 men.
Popped it up. And Turner waits for it. 2 out. So Francisco's retired the first 2. And now Logan Schaefer will come up for the first time. Schaefer hitting a .214 for the year. Jim Henderson, the Brewers closer, is up in the bullpen alongside Michael Blazek. One-on-one to Schaefer, who came in for defense in the last inning. 2-1 from Francisco. And Schaefer takes a strike, 2-2.
Nice splitter right there.
Looking ahead to the bottom of the ninth, the Mets will have the pitcher's spot, Young and Murphy coming up. Presumably against the closer Henderson with a save opportunity unless the Brewers get a run here. Late swing foul by Schaefer, 2-2.
Even Frank Francisco is quick pitching.
Hey, even old dogs can learn new tricks.
Yeah, why not? Look good.
Well, LaTroy Hawkins has taught that move to everybody in that pen. Nori Aoki would be next. Dylan G went the first 6. He's on the hook in this game. Gave up 4 runs and 7 hits. Tim Burdack and David Ardsma each worth a hitless inning. And now Francisco trying for the same. 3-2 to Schaefer with 2 out. And he rips one foul. The ball boys at Citi Field are the best anywhere.
Partial to Anthony down the right field line. It's not only can he catch it, lefty down the left field line, but he also knows how to play the carom. He gets it down there.
They're also very good at folding the towels.
Is that more important than shining the shoes?
Well, no, it's not. But those kids, for the fans that don't know, they are the ball boys, but they're helping out inside that. They're polishing shoes. They're getting the laundry done. They're folding stuff.
So what's the most important task for a clubhouse kid? For
Trying
you
to
as a
get you
player?
a cup of coffee.
I'm sure you tip well. That's ball 4, and Schaefer's on with a 2-out walk. Nope, Schaefer tried to get to first base once, and he finally makes it 8 pitches later. Now Aoki, who's 0 for 3 in a walk today. The former Yakult Swallow.
I would say learning how to copy your signature perfectly would be a great trait of a.
Ooh, does that still happen?
No.
Aoki lifts one to center field, and Den Decker has it measured, and that retires the side. So a hitless inning for Francisco, and that sends us to the bottom of the ninth with the Mets trying to come from behind. It's 4-1. In the Chinook Winds of Calgary, Alberta, Jim Henderson comes on to try and save it.
Well, he's had a good year for them. Let's see, 5-5, up to 26 saves out of 30 opportunities, and the batting average against 198. Outstanding for Mr. Henderson.
Game 2 of this series tomorrow night. Carlos Torres makes his final start of the year for the Mets against Giovanni Gallardo. Our coverage begins at 6 o'clock with Cadillac first pitch right here on SNY. Josh Satin will be the pinch hitter for the Mets in the 9th inning. Mets have managed to run on 6 hits today. They've had 13 at-bats with runners in scoring position and come up empty every time. Johnny Hellwig went the first 4 innings, gave up 2 hits, 4 walks, and 2 hit batsmen, just 1 run. Alfredo Figueroa gave up 3 hits in 2 innings, but no runs. Rob Wooten and Brandon Kinsler each with a scoreless inning, and now Henderson in the 9th. Satin appeared as a pinch hitter yesterday in Cincinnati and took a call, 3rd strike. And he moves away, 2-0. Behind Satin, Eric Young, and then Daniel Murphy here in the last of the 9th. Such a puzzlement. We've been talking about it how many times? Mets go 5-1 on the road trip.
Yeah.
They take 2 out of 3 from the contending Reds. They come home to play the Brewers, who have virtually all of their players out of the lineup for one reason or the other. And here they are on the verge of defeat in the first game of their final homestand. 32-45 at home, despite a winning record on the road, 41-40. Satin takes a fastball strike, 2-2. The Indians just added a run. They lead the Twins 4-0 in the 6th. Texas still down 4-3 in the 5th to the Angels. 2-2, and Satin fouls it away. And Tampa Bay has a 4-0 lead over the Yankees as they play in the 9th. Mariano Rivera pitched the 8th for the Yankees in his final home appearance, much like he did here at the All-Star game. Pitched the 8th inning at Citi Field. And I understand they sent Jeter and Pettit out to the mound to take him out of the game.
Nice.
Nice
Pretty
touch.
cool.
Two, and Satin fists one foul. Phillies are down 7-1 in Atlanta in the 8th inning, so it looks like the Mets will hang on to 3rd place for another day. 3-2 to Satin. Josh is 5 for 24 as a pinch hitter. Has done much better as a starting player, hitting at 278 overall. Eighth pitch of the at bat from Henderson, and Satin lifts one down the left field line back toward the corner. Over goes Davis, and it is a fair ball. They're saying it's in play. Satin thought it was a home run, and it might have been, but he's going to have to stop at first base. The ball hit right near the orange line, and Terry Collins is going to come out. Satin never ran. I don't know if he thought it was foul, but it came down fair. Let's see. That's a home run. That's certainly a home run. And they will review it, and they will change the call. And Satin will have a home run as a pinch hitter.
Satin's got to run. I don't care who you are. Mickey Mantle, Barry Bonds, So
pull
we'll
holes.
have a video
You
review.
got to run.
I think he thought it was foul.
He thought it was foul?
Yep. Well, he's walking back. That's all he thinks it's foul, but it was a home run. The third base umpire, DJ Rayburn, signaled it in play, but it clearly hit the black well above the orange line, and the umpires will come back after review, and Satin will have his third home run of the year.
I have never seen that. It's clearly a home run. It should come right out. I don't know.
I mean, that wasn't even close to being foul. I don't know what Josh saw or thought.
Neither do I.
Josh right now standing a little sheepishly at first base, waiting to complete what will be a home run trot once the umpires come back.
How'd the umpire miss that?
I don't know. Well, Satin missed it, so I guess. Maybe they both saw the same thing, whatever that was. And there's the call. Home run for Satin. And it's now a 4-2 Milwaukee lead. So Satin with his third home run of the year. And it took just 1 minute and 10 seconds for the umpires to review that one. That might be the fastest one on record. Mets' fourth pinch hit home run this year. Andrew Brown has 2. Jordani Valdespin had 1. And now Satin with a pinch hit home run.
I mean, that was fair by 10 feet, and I don't understand why Josh thought this was going foul.
Maybe he thought he hooked it more than he did. I don't know. Very odd. Very odd. In any event, it's a home run, and now Eric Young takes ball 1 from Henderson.
Well, that would have made for a different scene in 1975 if Carlton Fisk would have had that reaction.
Well, I have to say that was about the most sheepish acceptance of high fives after a home run I've ever seen.
It'd be a little embarrassing.
Exactly. For Henderson, that's the 8th home run he's allowed this season. Josh trying to explain what happened.
Well, you got to run.
This is a good time to just sit on the bench and not say a word, because no one's going to believe you.
Now it's 2-0 to Young, trying to get on base any way he can to get the tying run to the plate, and Henderson throws a strike.
Just hope it goes away quickly.
Well, the Brewers have been involved in some odd home run trots the last 2 nights. One by their own guy, and then the home run trot that wasn't a moment ago. At least Satin eventually touched home plate, which Carlos Gomez still has not.
Never did, right?
I guess the umpires ruled that since he was obstructed by Brian McCann, he was awarded home plate without ever having touched it. 2-2 to Young, and he struck him out with a fastball, so Henderson gets the first out in the last of the ninth. Coming up tonight on Geico Sports Night after the post game, we'll hear about the Jets and the Giants and basketball as well, all on Geico Sports Night after the post game tonight on SNY. Now Murphy is 1 for 4 on the night. Doubled off the base of the wall in left field in the 7th inning after driving in a run with a ground out back in the 3rd. It's not David Wright behind him in the lineup. Wright was hit in the helmet by a pitch back in the 3rd inning and left the game for precautionary reasons. So Justin Turner is on deck instead. Ball and a strike to Murphy. And Henderson gets it in at the knees. Murphy didn't think so. Thought for sure it was low.
Oh, he's got a gripe. He's got a gripe. That's low, clearly. Got to collect yourself here.
Now Henderson's ahead 1-2 on Murphy. Strike 3 call.
He's gonna give him a piece of his mind.
So CB Buckner called the low strike, called the inside strike, and Murphy's done. And the Mets are down to their final out.
Well, that last pitch was there, but the one before it was not.
Well, that's a case where you're hot, and you try to collect yourself, and it affects the next pitch. I guarantee if it was middle of the season or stretch run, Murph would have been focused. It happens.
So the Mets are down to hoping for a bloop and a blast from Turner and Duda. Turner's 1 for 2, singled in the 5th inning, and goes after the first pitch fastball, 0-1.
Mr. Henderson's got some pretty firm cheddar. Feels good.
I like that adjective. Firm.
30-year-old Jim Henderson, who has hit his stride this year with the Brewers, his second year in the big leagues. Henderson, the native Canadian who was originally drafted by the Montreal Expos.
Oh, wow.
Back in 2003. He was a Rule 5 guy going to the Cubs, released by them, signed as a free agent by the Brewers. And now at age 30, inflicting himself on the National League. 2-1 to Turner with Duda on deck. And there's ball 3. Mets need a base runner anywhere they can get one to get the tying run to the plate. A run is home here in the 9th on Josh Satton's pinch hit home run. Three and 1 to Justin Turner, and he fouls it back, and now the Mets are down to their final strike. Big game for Texas. They just cannot afford to lose.
They lose that game on 4 errors.
4 errors in 1 inning. 3-2 from Henderson, and Turner drives one to center field, chasing Schaefer back, way back. He can't get it. And Turner pulls in at second base with a 2-out double. The Mets' second extra base hit of the inning, and that'll get the tying run to the plate here in the 9th.
Well, Turner missed a lot of playing time, fastball right down the pipe, but he clocks this one.
So Turner, a couple of hits off the bench tonight after replacing David Wright. And now one big swing from Duda could tie the game. Duda's been on base 3 times tonight, 2 walks, and he's been hit by a pitch, otherwise 0 for 1. Duda with 15 home runs on the season, including 1 in Cincinnati. And Henderson bounces the slider, 1-0.
Henderson changes his arm angle according to his pitch. He gets a little higher and on top of that breaking ball, and he's a little lower with his arm angle on the fastball. That's not where you want to be. That's a telltale sign to the hitter.
Fastball letter high for a strike, 1-1. Hard-working ninth inning for Henderson, who came in with a 3-run lead. He's given up a home run and a double. 1-1 to Duda. And Lucas swings at the high fastball, hoping to hit one out of the ballpark. 1-2. So for the second time, the Mets find themselves down to their last strike. And Duda goes down on strikes, and that'll end it. Henderson hangs on, striking out 3 in the inning. Satton's pinch hit home run not enough, and the Brewers take the opening game of this final series 4-2.
Well, for Terry Collins' crew, was really the second inning from Milwaukee, where they scored 4 runs on some blue pits and some walks by Dylan G, and that inning was enough to give Dylan the loss.
Well, the Mets had their opportunities. They've had lots of men on base, and they did not deliver. 5-1 road trip, Gare, and they come home and they have difficulties at home for some reason.
The Mets went 0 for 14 with runners in scoring position tonight. There's your game summary. The Brewers win at 4-2. Dylan G suffers the loss, 1 inning short of 200 innings for the season. Henderson, the shaky save. Alfredo Figueroa awarded the victory in relief with 2 scoreless innings as Milwaukee wins it 4-2. We'll come back with more from Citi Field in just a moment.